Welcome to the Gals Guide podcast. Join us on an adventure to get to know famous and infamous women from around the world. Each of our presenters has a pick. Is she ancient history? Is she breaking news? Is she safe for work? Well, that's up to each presenter. All we know is that...
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Welcome back. I'm Katie, and I'm joined by Leah, Bonnie, and Josh sharing our African gal pick. Bonnie already talked about Huda Sharari. Josh already talked about Professor Knox. Josh, will you say her name? Because it's beautiful and I'm bad at it.
Nakwanda Makunga.
Okay, thank you. We need him here all the time to help us pronounce things because he's kind of rocked it for this month.
I know, right? Really good on the accents and syllables. Sorry, I was trying to...
Got it. Leah already shared with us about the Agoje warriors. But before I introduce my African gal, I want to get to know something random about our gal pals. And since it's me, and you guys all know I'm a foodie,
yes,
and I can close down Jeopardy if it's a food category,
yes,
I need to ask you, have you ever tried African food? What was it, and where did it come from?
Dun, dun, dun.
Who's looking at me?
I know, right? Exactly. I have.
Okay.
I always worry about my spice factor because
Yes.
I just have a very low spice tolerance. Like at an Indian restaurant, I can maybe have the bread on a good day. Like everything else is like too much. I had an ulcer as a kid.
Yeah.
And so not only the spice, but also I just didn't eat spicy because I had an ulcer. So therefore it ruined my freaking palate is what
You
it
haven't
is.
built up your tolerance.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I want to be able to try these beautiful flavory foods and not have to worry about, like, what's the spice content? You know, like, I hate that. I will have a good bread any day of the week. But there are flatbreads that don't have rising agents in them and don't have yeast in them and don't need kneading. That I really, really like adore. And I'm debating on possibly making some.
Oh,
Because
sweet.
you can fry them up in a skillet and things like
Yeah.
that. And I was just like, that sounds like a quick, simple,
Mm-hmm.
give me a good bread, like with 3
Gotcha.
ingredients in it. And I'm like, here for it. So, but I know Josh also made a rice dish for us, which I think he's looking for.
I can't even begin to figure out what the name of it was.
Did you get it at the Saraga store, or was
No,
it?
it was
just-
at Meyer.
Oh, is that Meyer? Look at
An
that.
African rice mix.
Yeah, it was like
There's a lot of
grains.
seasoning that I feel like is becoming popular here now that we didn't previously talk about. I mean, Zadar would be more Middle Eastern. I'm
Yes.
trying to think of which would be African, but there's a
Yeah.
lot
Zadar-
more spices. That,
Right, but isn't that could be Egyptian,
Yeah.
Cairo, Morocco, those kind of African spices as
Shawarma.
well. I forgot how much I love shawarma. Yeah.
That's about
Wait,
the.
yeah,
Yeah, that's. I mean, we've had
I love shawarma.
shawarma and different pita dishes that were like Egyptian.
Yeah.
But I mean that's very regional too, because
Yeah, I mean, it's a
lots of different Middle
entire
Eastern countries
continent,
have
yeah.
types of shawarma, but
Yeah, or types of falafel.
yeah.
Mhm.
But as far as African dishes, I am blanking.
Gotcha.
Berber spice blend. Oh, I made something with that
I think
recently,
I've
and
heard of it.
it was painful.
Is it okay? It's a hot
Well,
one.
I
Yeah.
tried to substitute for another thing, and they weren't equivalent. So
Mm.
it was my own bad, but it's very, very flavorful
Oh.
spice blend. So,
Sweet.
Bonnie, have you ever had African food?
Don't think so.
Okay,
But I do know we have. Indianapolis has quite a few Ethiopian restaurants.
Yeah, so,
that's what I was going to share.
Mhm.
I've been to an Ethiopian restaurant that was over near Geist. It's closed now.
Gotcha.
The owners were super sweet, but one of the reasons we went is, of course, Josh eats vegan, and I do frequent with him as well.
Yeah.
And Ethiopian food really pairs well with eating vegan.
Nice.
I mean, of course, the menu was pretty massive, honestly, but they had a very big section of vegetarian and vegan dishes.
Nice.
And the cool thing about eating Ethiopian is traditionally your food is served on injera.
Okay.
Injera.
Is that the leaves?
No, it's
Oh.
it's a big, like, spongy, almost pancake-like bread.
Ooh.
So your food comes
bread,
on
my
this
language.
big silver platter.
Yeah.
And there's a round injera that covers the entire platter.
Ooh.
And you can usually choose like 6 to 8 different things you want to try.
Ah,
And they put kind of a scoop of each of them around, kind of like the hands on a clock.
nice.
And then you have some extra rolled up injera to the side. And you use that to scoop up and eat the stew. and eat it with your hands.
Nice.
And there was just so many different things that were vegan. It had tons of vegetables, tons of spices.
Mhm.
Some were very spicy, and I couldn't do it. Others were more what I could handle.
Mhm.
It wasn't vegan, but they also had a milk and honey bread that was incredible.
Oh, I would totally be down for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, my
Yeah,
goodness.
after that embarrassing showing for us for African food, I think we need to make more of an effort to.
Well, here's what I will say, because I did feel like I was cheating if I brought it up. I have had and consumed and have in my lunchbox right now African chocolate. I will love some African chocolate, especially like fair trade, ethically sourced African chocolate. It's usually dark chocolate. It has more cacao in it. It has less milk in it. And it's so freaking good. So I've, especially when we go to like international food markets, I'll be like, what chocolate you got? Is it African chocolate? Because there is some good stuff. And they'll even put like coffee grounds in it and things like that. And it's just, so I love me some good African chocolate. But I did feel like that was cheating.
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's
All right.
product of their
Chocolate
well,
bread. These are my things.
Totally cheating.
You know, the other thing that pops into my mind, because the way you guys talk about plants, I can talk about food.
Yes.
As I see a lot of people making here in the United States, like an African peanut butter stew lately.
What is that?
So it's like
Yeah,
peanut
yeah.
butter and tomato, almost like a curry like stew with different things in it. For the
Nice.
vegan stuff, it's a lot of usually butternut squash
Oh, yes.
or
yes,
different
yes.
things. So that's like a
Now
really
I'm
nice
hungry.
idea to try.
That
If
sounds
you want to
amazing,
dip
though.
your toes into
Yeah.
making African food at home.
Ooh.
So, yes.
Nom, 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 nom.
Well, the gal I'm sharing with you has nothing to do with the question I asked you. That's just my own personal
Totally fine.
interest.
That was a Katie question.
But I think
like
that
it.
you'll really see how she kind of relates to what we do here at Gal's Guide.
Yay.
Because she was definitely a woman who found power in words.
Woohoo!
Right?
One of my other favorite things besides bread and chocolate.
Besides beheading, that kind of power.
Yeah,
The power of
beheading
words
with
instead.
words. Yes.
Beheading with
Yeah.
words, right.
Okay.
So I'm going to be talking about Mariama Bai.
Sweet.
So I hope that sounded good.
Yeah.
I looked up so many times how to pronounce it, and everybody said it so beautifully, and they kind of slurred it into one word.
Oh, yeah.
So it's Mariama Bai. She was born April 17th, 1929. She was born in Dakar,
Sweet.
and she was raised in a Muslim family. However, the reason you may know her is because she became a very famous author and feminist.
Yeah.
So just kind of the on the very cusp of the feminist movement there in Senegal.
Oh, nice.
So she kind of became almost like the mother of the movement, I would say.
Perfect.
I know, right? So when she was young, when she was 4 years old, her mom passed away,
Aw.
and she ended up being raised by her grandparents, but her dad was still a very active person in her life. But her grandparents' household was like a very traditional Muslim household. There were multiple wives. And the custom and the thoughts were that as a girl, she could be educated until the age of 14. But after that, then she would become a wife to someone.
Right.
However, thankfully, her father didn't let that happen.
Oh. Hey.
Right?
Nice.
And so, as a Muslim schoolgirl in Senegal in the 40s, which she was, you get to choose kind of that life direction at 14. And usually it would either be becoming a wife or it would be to enroll in a typing or midwife course.
Oh, those are all great options.
You get those two choices, typing or midwifery, if you're not going to get married.
Yay!
So her dad said she could continue her education.
Okay, yay.
And she has two choices.
Yeah. Which does she pick?
However,
None of it.
she also had an incredible teacher who
Oh.
thought she was quite brilliant and encouraged her to try to go to teacher's college,
Oh,
to teacher's
nice.
advanced school.
There you go. Yeah.
So she had thought she would just become a secretary.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
So,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I think she was already kind of thinking those feminist thoughts and kind of looking at her environment and kind of like, I'm not cool with that.
Right.
But she still was kind of a product of her environment. And, you know, you're 14.
Yeah.
Here's the places you can go.
You can only know what you know, right?
You know what you
Yeah.
know. But she had this really amazing headmistress that saw more potential in her. So she ended up getting into the teacher's college,
Sweet.
and she received the highest marks in all of the French West Africa.
Nice.
Ooh,
Yeah.
smart one.
Very much so.
Nice.
So it's really funny because this headmistress belief in her was very much come to fruition when at the age of 50, she became one of the first Black African women to achieve international renown as an author.
Ah, nice.
So that's kind of previewing to what she did.
Right, yes.
But she went to her teacher's college, and she spent about 10 years teaching after that. And then she had, unfortunately, kind of a elongated illness that kept her from teaching further.
Gotcha.
So she became kind of, I don't know the correct word
It's
for
not
it, and I don't think I
recluse.
highlighted it. No.
Okay,
No,
gotcha.
no.
Like
She
internal.
wasn't a teacher anymore.
Okay.
She was like a teacher supervisor.
Oh, okay.
So she
management.
Yeah.
Okay.
She went into
yeah.
middle management
Okay,
in the
alright.
teaching sphere.
Sure. Yeah, but she's still in, in the school, in the room where it happens, but not necessarily the classroom.
Actively
Yes,
so in there.
exactly.
So
Bunny's pop into the song
Yep.
because I made a Hamilton
Yep.
reference.
recluse.
Yup. Or recluse. Those would have been, my two options. Either middle management or just completely withdraw from society and become a recluse.
I mean, I know which one I would pick.
Right, exactly. Yeah, like, are those the two options?
Well, I'm glad you're stalling for me because I'm trying to pull myself together
good.
here with my notes.
I got you, girl.
So the cool thing was about her is there was a decent amount of information, but a lot of it was really repetitive.
Oh, gotcha.
So, like, it felt like there were a lot of sources, but it was kind of hearing a lot of the same stories again. And unfortunately, her life was, in my opinion, pretty brief.
Gotcha.
She actually passed away when she was 51.
Oh, gotcha. It's a short life, yeah.
It is. And so I feel like the narrative, as I learned it, didn't really weave what was happening. There was this was her as a student, and she went to teacher's college, and she became a teacher, and then she taught for 10 years, and then she supervised, and then she wrote books. And then there was her personal life, and in her personal life, she was able to do something that was not always common at that time, and she was able to choose her own husband instead of it being her husband being picked by her family.
Right.
I'm going to say chosen. He was chosen by her family.
Right.
No, she picked her own husband.
Nice.
But she also decided when to kick him to the curb.
Ah.
And during her lifetime, at the tender year of 51,
Yeah.
she'd been divorced 3 times.
Ooh, look at that. Saucy.
So you'll see a lot of quotes about online her thoughts on, I think, marriage and relationships.
Yeah.
And one of them that kind of struck me as a little bit funny and maybe a little bit jaded and kind of shows is that she suggested if you want a successful marriage, you marry somebody that loves you more than you love them.
Oh.
So I think she definitely had her hearts broken a few times.
Spoken like a true woman who's been divorced 3 times.
3 times, right. But throughout those 3
Right.
marriages, she also had 9 children.
Whoa. Look at that. Yes. It's a lot of babies coming out of a
That's
body.
why I'm like trying to give you guys a timeline, and I'm like, okay, but what
Yeah.
I'm learning is
Right.
there's Mariama education, there's Mariama divorce, there's
Right.
Mariama 9 children,
Right.
and I don't know how it weaves together,
Right.
but it all happens
Yeah.
within 51 years.
Oh my goodness.
Choose your own adventure.
Wow. Delicious.
But her longest marriage actually lasted 25 years.
Oh, yeah.
And this husband of hers was also very politically connected and involved in Senegal with the French and the politics, and highly intelligent. Of her 3 husbands, I get the feeling he was the one that kind of matched her in intelligence. But that also led to more discord because of that as well.
Sure. An intellectual battle is amazing.
So she spent a lot of her life as a single mom as well, while kind of being this
between,
groundbreaker of a teacher.
Yeah.
And she was very much known as a very inspirational teacher, even though she only taught about 10 years.
Yeah.
In fact, there is a school currently in Senegal named after her.
Oh,
And it's only the top 10 or 15% of girls, once they test in, that are invited to go to this school. It's like a little island off Senegal.
It's the smart school,
It's
isn't
the
it?
smart school. And by the time they graduate, I think they go there when they're in their mid-teens, but by the time they graduate, they're there many years. They have a bachelor's degree.
Oh, look
So
at
it's a little bit
that.
different, but-
Accelerated. Dig
But
it.
pretty cool. So she's got this teaching thing going on. She has lots of feminist opinions. It's the 60s. She's outspoken with these. She's writing political pieces.
Is she talking to men?
She's divorcing men.
Oh my goodness.
3 of them.
Sweet. Look at that. I dig it.
But, you know, I say that, but there's also like this edge when I read about her that's like, she never stepped out huge.
Gotcha.
Like she had her opinions, but she expressed them through written word.
Gotcha.
She wasn't throwing off her head covers at the train station.
Right.
She saw her vehicle being
The
novels,
written
the written word,
Gotcha.
all of that. And so she also, like, you know, she tried her marriages. She had her 9 kids. She served that role of wife and mother.
Yeah.
But she also kept wanting to be a trailblazer for women, and especially women in education.
Nice.
Having the freedom to choose, to learn, and
That's
to
a
have...
true rebellious thing to do.
Absolutely, isn't it?
Yeah. Maybe she was always trying to fit in, but buck the system at the same time a little bit.
Right.
Like, don't pay attention to me. I'm too busy trying to, like, you know, change everything. Or at least instill this next generation.
One of her quotes was even about how women that had ideas outside of the norm were always going to be disrespected.
Yeah.
So she knew it was coming her way.
Mm-hmm.
She definitely knew that by writing this way, she was putting herself kind of in that crossfire. So she was definitely a rebel and a feminist. And I really liked this little story because it's about friendship and supporting another woman. So she had this friend named Annette, who was a journalist and a children's author. And she kept encouraging her to write a novel. And she kept saying, no, you know, I'm not sure I want to write a novel. So her friend went to a publishing house and told her that she was working on a novel and to expect it soon.
Oh, no. That's like outing your writing friend.
Right. She definitely pushed her out of her comfort zone. So
Wow.
Mariama then was imagining these men at the publishing house mocking her for not following through on this writing that was supposed to be. I'm not saying this was necessarily a good friendship thing.
Right, exactly.
But it was definitely a kick in the pants, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was because of that that she wrote her first published piece. She has 2 famous published pieces that are novels, and this one in English is called So Long a Letter.
Yes. And the library
And
has
the
it.
library has it, yes.
What?
Oh, I know, right?
So it was actually published in 1979.
Oh, sweet.
But it was set in the 1960s in Senegal, and it's this woman who is writing to her best friend who lives in America now upon the death of her husband. And these were both women that kind of strove to be a little more modern, to step outside of that kind of Muslim housewife role.
Mm-hmm.
And they chose their own husbands for love, but then both of them had their husbands kind of succumb to their culture and decide to take on extra wives, because polygamy was part of their Muslim culture at the time. They're in Senegal, to have multiple wives. And so they did. And the friend she's writing to divorced her husband upon having another wife. She did not. And she's kind of... her husband has passed, and during this time of his funeral, she's writing this very long letter to her friend kind of about her life, the choices she made, the choices her friend made, how it should be, how it shouldn't be. And it was just a very
neat,
very well-respected, deep feminist piece.
Yeah. Kind of seeing both sides and that in between of married women of the region, right?
And I see a lot of people just talking about not even just the content, but the words picked, the prose, how it was written being so impactful and beautiful.
Nice.
Yes. So that was 1979 that she wrote and published that. And it was immediately a huge success. In 1980, I'm going to have to find it for you, what it won. Because it's not an award familiar to me. The book was awarded the first Noma Award for Publishing in Africa in 1980.
Oh,
so it was a huge success, immediately translated into lots of different languages. A year after it was out, won that award. 1981, Mariama passed away.
Oh, no. Big success, and then end of her life. Oh, no. How did her second book happen then?
She had already been working on it, and it was actually published after she passed.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Yes. And her second book is, I'm going to tell you right now, The Scarlet Song.
Oh.
And it was, again, about a woman's marriage and about the Muslim ideals of polygamy and women's place in the marriage, and very much in opposition of that.
Oh, imagine if she would have lived longer, more nuance and stories and tales.
And she died of cancer, and it was a very prolonged illness.
Oh, gotcha.
So she knew it was coming, and people that knew her said she had made peace with it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But still, yes, she
It's
could have
still
been
tragic,
much more
yeah.
prolific, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. So one of my favorite quotes that she says is actually, it's taken out of her first book. Mm-hmm. It's her character writes in her letter and says, the power of books, this marvelous invention of astute human intelligence, sole instrument of interrelationships and of culture, unparalleled means of giving and receiving. Books knit generations together in the same continuing effort that leads to progress. Or as Ba said to an interviewer the year before she died, books are a weapon, a peaceful weapon perhaps, but they're a weapon.
Yes! I love that. All the feels for book love and books as weapons. Yes.
So.
The best weapon. What is it from Doctor Who? The David Tennant weapons. We don't need weapons. We're in a library. We have the greatest weapons or something like that. Yeah.
For it.
Perfect.
Yes, and there really is a nice amount of things in there out there about Mariama. If you want to dive a little deeper,
yeah.
In fact, her daughter published a biography about her.
Oh, nice.
In 2007.
Nice to remembered by one of her 9 children.
Right. And I was going to read you the title, but it's in French.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So if
French.
you just
that's totally fine. I can
look
put
for it, you'll find it.
Or I'll
find it. Yeah.
In show notes as well. I had a French teacher for 2 weeks that said, "Don't speak it. Your tongue doesn't go that way."
Oh no, that's too much.
Yeah, right.
I don't know those ones.
It also hurt Bonnie. Yep, got it.
And there's also a documentary about the school that's named after her, which talks about
cute.
her as well. So
nice.
Yes.
Look at that. I do love a good word warrior.
I thought you would. I thought that was when books are weapons.
Exactly. And we have oh my gosh, it's right there. So if you turn around you can see so long a letter. It's a little tiny book too. It's I remember it coming in going, "Oh yeah, no, this looks neat." And then I'm like going, "Wait a minute. You mentioned that title or that author."
Yeah.
I'm like, "I just pulled it to put it in the little spinny display." So, yeah.
And then like a lot of people think that it's kind of autobiographical.
Maybe.
And it's pulled from parts of her life.
Yes, yeah.
But what she tells people is it's pulled from many of her friends' lives.
Yes,
so it's kind of like
nuanced that way.
She created it from speaking to many women and learning about their experiences.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a conglomeration of a lot of people's stories that she knows.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, I read some excerpts from it, and I thought it was really nice, but I thought it would definitely be something I would have to like sit and digest.
Yes, exactly.
It's not something
right.
you can just go through and get something from. It's something to kind of ponder.
Yeah. So, no, I dig that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Any questions for Katie? All right, then. I like the panicked look I get on people's faces. It's
because I was like so rambling all over the place with that one.
You were thorough and you answered all of our questions to the get.
Because I told you I don't know the timeline. Things happened, and then
these are different aspects of our life. Put it together. It's a choose your own adventure. Yes. Yeah. I dig it. Do you want to wrap
I'm
us
10
up?
years away from 11 years away from 51, and I can't imagine fitting in 8 more children, 1 more husband,
right?
2 novels.
Yeah.
I believe in you,
a political resistance.
Josh says, "I believe in you." I'm like, don't do it. Sounds exhausting.
I think you guys can always tell out there in viewerland that I admire them when we talk about so much, because they do so much shit. But
I dig it. But no, I believe that you can accomplish whatever dreams you set for yourself. Yeah, exactly. Plus, you're going to live far longer than 51 because you're not allowed to do anything else.
Understood.
You have to live longer than 51, Katie.
I'll try my best.
And then I'll renegotiate the terms at 52.
It's because you need me for book club.
Yep. Need you for lots of things, Katie. But sure, book club. We'll go with that. Yeah.
Oh, just wait until I write to an editor and tell them to expect Leah Leach's book, and if she doesn't, the men are going to make fun of you.
You know, if they're willing to actually publish it, I will take that deadline and really work with it.
Okay.
But They need to be cool and not just care about how many Facebook friends I have.
Mhm.
I know, right?
Mhm.
Boo. All right. Well, I will wrap us up for the month of February.
Yes.
That wraps up African Gals Month. Join us next week as we get those passports ready because we're going to have a crackling adventure, a whale of a time in Ireland.
Ta-da!
Want to learn about more women of history? Gals Guide opened a unique women's history lending library. Come visit and explore our collection. Learn more at galsguide.org. Thanks for listening.